What's up, guys? Casey and George with Going Bracket Racing YouTube channel. I already got Bracket Racer 1 in here, got Team 14 in the house already. Man, guys, we had quite the technical difficulties last week. We had quite a bit of stuff going on. Who knows what was going on? It's the tech guys, right, George?
Something like that. The tech devil, whatever you want to call him. You know, it wasn't very nice to me. Crashed my computer twice and messed up my camera once and couldn't get Casey's volume to work for anything. Luckily, I know everything's working pretty good right now, so I'm not too worried about what's going on. Maybe I just probably shouldn't even have said that. Should knock on some wood or something. I don't know, you know. But you said a mouthful, man. It was a heck of a weekend, dude. We got a lot we can recap next week. We'll save some of the stuff for next week, you know. But heck of a weekend, man. I enjoyed myself thoroughly watching racing when I should have been working. What about you?
That's right, man. There was a whole lot of racing going on, and I tell you what, we had said this last week, but of course nobody heard us because it was on mute. But I called old Champ, called Champ McCrory, said, "Hey man, I got a list of parts I want you to look and see if you can get." And he said, "Oh man, I'm literally just pulling out of my driveway, but I'll get everything looked up when I get to Darlington." So sure enough, next day he calls me, says, "Hey man, I found this, and this. This is the price. Do you want it?" I said, "Yeah." He said, "Okay." He sends it to me, get it here in 2 days. So Chance Performance, you guys need to check that out for sure if you haven't already. But then lo and behold, old Champ finds himself in the winner's circle in Overkill Motorsports dragster, doesn't he?
Hey, I'll tell you what, for a guy who we had on the show that said, "I've been in retirement all year," to go out, I don't know if that was his first race of the year or what. You know, he may have been to a couple of races other than that. Hey, go back and check us. It's on the Going Bracket Racing YouTube channel. If you guys want to go back and take a look at Champ's performance, Stephen McCord come on the show and give us a kind of some insight on what he does on a racetrack. Well, obviously, what he does on the racetrack worked pretty doggone well this past weekend to the tune of 100K. So definitely, guys, head over to that YouTube channel, hit the subscribe button. Thanks for everybody chiming in on the Facebook side there. I see you, David Hearn and Sean Pinkerton and Jeremy Rosenthal, Jimmy Nobles. Man, I thought you blew a hole in that block. I'm so glad to hear it wasn't. I don't care what happens to the track, as long as you didn't blow that thing up, because that looked like it was going to be pretty painful. Considering what I saw, Casey, it was basically
painful to the wallet. Painful to the wallet.
Yeah, basically he got some type of something punctured his oil filter, and so you're not going to lose oil pressure when that happens. And hey, luckily that's all, you know. So, but no, man. What we're going to do here, we're going to get right to the show, and you guys get a chance. Make sure you chime in if you have questions. We'll try our best to get to you. But we'll have Mr. Loose Rocker himself here in just a moment. Have a look at the Drag Champ Minute, will you?
What's up, guys? Gary Don back again for another Drag Champ Minute. What's hot in bracket racing today? And what's hot this week? Everybody's talking about the SFG Super Bowl of bracket racing, where Jeff Serra, yep, that guy, won again, and this time cash for $175,000 to add to an amazing season where I think he's won, 25 grand, 75 grand, runner up 240s, ran himself in a $100,000 final, and now has a $175,000 win in Darlington over the weekend to just be on an unbelievable run. And speaking of Sarah, his brother Sean turns around and wins the next day and wins 100 grand. So the Serra brothers are what's hot this week. Other racers that cashed in big at Darlington at the SFG, winning 100 grand each, Jerry Brewer and Champ, Stephen McCrory, both cash big. To wrap up the week, Dan Fletcher wins number 105, his 105th national event win on the NHRA Tour. He now ties Frank Manzo for the second winningest driver in NHRA history. Only person that has won more NHRA national events than Dan Fletcher is John Force. That's right. Dan Fletcher, Dan the man, gets it done. Now he'll be racing to get number 106 and take sole possession of second place. That's what's hot in bracket racing today. For more news, results, and info, follow dragchamp.com. See you next week.
All right, guys, welcome back. And thanks over to Drag Champ for always being willing to step in with that Drag Champ Minute, give us a little recap on the past week, and certainly was a lot going on there. So I'm not going to be before you too long with my ad-libs, and we're going to get a guy introduced here who's on the screen with us now. This guy needs no introduction. When you hear the words loose rocker, just doesn't just mean something wrong with your race car anymore, okay? Maybe there's something big going on the racetrack that you want to get your trailer and your car and your truck, your motorhome, whatever you got, to the nearest loose rockers race. Mr. Michael Beard is with us tonight, and we certainly thanks for coming on.
Hey, appreciate it very much, guys. How you guys doing tonight?
So far, so good, man. Hopefully those tech gremlins stay away from us now. It looks like we got through the Drag Champ Minute. We can all hear each other. I think everyone can hear us as far as I can tell. And let's see what happens here.
Yeah, certainly doing much better than last Tuesday. I was pretty hot after that. I was pretty angry with the technical difficulties. But, man, I'm just glad we got you back on the show. Thanks for being available. Basically what we do here, we get a little bit of a let's learn about Michael Beard. So some of these questions, I promise you nothing will catch you off guard. But I'm just going to go ahead and jump into number one. All right. What got you into bracket racing?
That was actually my dad. He had raced a little bit when he was a kid. It was all just class racing, heads up stuff back in the day. And he was out of it for, 20, 30 years. And one day went out for a loaf of bread and was gone all day. And when he finally got home, we're like, where have you been all day? He's like, out driving around, and I found Beaver Springs Dragway in central Pennsylvania. And the second week, loaded the whole family in the truck, and we went to the track to watch. And a week after that, Dad started racing in the trophy class. And it was my job as a 15-year-old kid to figure out what all this bracket racing stuff was about. He'd give me a handful of time slips and say, go talk to that guy and ask him what I should do. So,
you got your hands full right off the bat.
You really don't want to find me with a wrench in my hand. So I've always fallen in love with the strategy and the math of the sport.
And that's what it seems like racing is going more towards anymore, because you can buy such good stuff that it almost seems like as long as you can afford whatever it is you're doing, be it a 7-second car, be it a 4-second car, be it a Pro Mod, Top Sportsman, whatever it is, it seems like as long as you can pay for whatever it is, the strategy is what actually wins your races anymore. And speaking of that, everyone knows you from promoting with Loose Rocker, but everyone watching this show might not necessarily know that Michael Beard still races regularly, not just, oh, I'm running one time, this year, or I'm promoting the entire year this year, and I got to focus on that. You do an equal amount of both, it seems, and you just came off a win at Muncie Dragway. Tell us a little bit about your car and what kind of racing you like to do.
Well, racing regularly is a brand new thing this year. The past number of years have been extraordinarily challenging. In 2016, I left most of the super stock combinations crankshaft in the burnout box at Bristol World Brake Challenge and decided we were done with class racing. So by the summer of 2016, I went from a 5.9 liter drag pack, which was a fuel injected 360 super stock combination. We decided to make the switch, did a 408 stroker short block for it, but I still kept the drag pack heads. They didn't get hurt in that, and kept the fuel injection. I love the fuel injection, and I will always keep that. In 2017, 2018, I had the 904 transmission in and out of that car 7 times.
Oh.
I'm over it. We're done. So the car in 2017, it broke, and then it broke until I became broke, and the car would remain broke until I was no longer broke, which didn't happen a whole lot. 2018, same story. So between those 2 years, I think I was at a racetrack 11 times, and half of those were testing tunes just to figure out if I'd fix something. And it was unbelievable. It was a comedy of errors. Like you pull the transmission, we'd find a brake line leaking. You know, completely unrelated stuff. Got the car back out, and it's 3/10 slow. It's printing tickets, but it's slow. And I'm like, I'm not gonna worry. Oh, I thought I had heard the converter. So about fourth round, it leaves, wheels up, grabs second gear in the air, and I'm like, yeah, that's how it's supposed to feel. That's how it's supposed to feel. So I feel 20 miles an hour, run out by 5, and I go, that ain't the converter. Started digging around, and the short version of the story, it turned out to be the map sensor. The map sensor had gone bad, and it was pulling 30% of my fuel out.
Wow.
Well, fuel injection, when it's lean, it doesn't pop. It just doesn't go anywhere, which I rediscovered again this year, but that's a different story. 2019, the thing actually held together for the most part, and I had an incredible season, second only, well, I guess third, to the 2 World Championship years. 2003, 2009, 2010 was kind of a crossover year. The World Championship years were financially very, very good. 2019, just bracket racing with the 408 fuel injected combination, was in 11 final rounds, most of them runner-ups. So it was me and Chris Mancini. We were kings of runner-ups that year, but I didn't care because I was making money. We were in finals every other week, it felt like. And I reinvested a lot of that money back into the car. Last winter, freshened the motor, had over 400 runs on it. Sloan Racing Engines, Tim Sloan takes things apart, says bearings look almost new in the thing. So preventive maintenance, no problem. That's good. We put Trick Flow Specialties heads on it. Just the year before, or that winter, they had debuted their small block Mopar cylinder head. The interesting thing about the Trick Flow Mopar small block head is you can use those heads on a Magnum or an LA block. They just take a different Harlan Sharp rocker system for the different kinds of oiling. Now you do have to use the LA style, the older 360 style valve covers and intake manifold, but I did keep it fuel injected, and I figured ought to be on a good bit faster with these heads over the drag pack heads. So the next stop was chassis shop. So I went to Gibbs Race Cars in Mooresville. Those are the guys that back half the car back in 2012, and we went out and won the Superstock World Championship and a couple NHRA. Won a NHRA divisional race, the first one I went to in Superstock after back half in the car. I think it was like 2 weeks after we back half the thing. And I won the Sports Nationals at Columbus with a thing. So Gibbs Race Cars did a phenomenal job, 4-link in the car, putting a big tire under it. That was what, again, 2012. 2016 actually came off of the big tire and went to Mickey Thompson Pro Bracket Radial, a 29.5, 10.5. That was 2016 that I went to the PBRs. I'm on my second set. Now, granted, yeah, there was a couple years I was broke, but this weekend, after winning at Muncie, my current set has 398 runs on them.
Wow.
Ain't got no reports hanging out yet, so they're still good. Anyway, so Gibbs completes the roll cage. While we were down for COVID restrictions, and I wasn't able to even get the car to him, so we wasted a bunch of time there. I was scrolling summitracing.com. I could use that. So there were several months of just shopping, just because I didn't have anything better to do, apparently. And again, I had all the winnings from 2019 burning a hole in my pocket. So I decided if we're going to complete the roll cage, this is going to be the last good opportunity to get the bench seat out of the car. I did love my bench seat, but okay, let's okay, it's going to be a race car now. So Got a Kirky seat for it. It actually is very comfortable. I'm happy with that. And got new carpet for the car. It's not a show car, but it looks nicer than it did. And Gibbs did a phenomenal job with that cage. The down bars actually contour along the dash, and it even clears the window crank. Love it.
See, and that's a big deal too, because I have a buddy that he had his car redone and it didn't clear the window crank. And I've still to this day, he's selling the car and I still hear about it. Still. And he's a Mopar guy too. You'd like him.
No, that's pretty.
Fairly clear, but Gibbs also did some special mounting. He did some fabrication work for the Kirky seat, so it sets up about as high as it can in the car. So it's very close to the height that the bench seat was. So I've still got the same amount of visibility as well as that comfort. And he's got it on sliders. So for installing the seat belts, I can get the seat up out of the way, fold everything in, slide it back, put it together. I mean, it's really slick. Donnie Gibbs does a great job, treats me right. And when we, also mentioned having problems with the 904s, they finally browbeat me enough. I actually saw Lance Pinto and John Sierra Sr. at Empire Dragway a couple weeks ago, and I fussed at both of them because at the Norwalk No Box Bonanza in 2019, I run it up in the Friday race, and the transmission broke in the shutdown area. And it's like 1:30 in the morning. I come rolling in the next day and get ready to load my stuff up and go home. And I'd never met Lance Pinto before. And he rolls up in his Chevelle, first gen. Hey, you want to drive my car? No, just get, you know what? Sure. And John Sierra Sr., hey, I only got one entry in my Super Stock Nova. You want to drive it too? Okay. So here I set in two cars, 690 car and a 660 car, each with a power glide and a trans brake. Now, I've been deep staging the Volare because that thing does not react for nothing. It's generally a 660 car. So this Nova is basically about the same. Ironically, Sierra's car actually was using about half the shims on the button and found the tree pretty quick, leaving about 3,400. And I'm like, this is all right. And Lance's car was going 690s, had a 396 stocker motor in it at the time, but had a trans brake. He's been developing the thing to run super stock eventually, and I think he's got it set up there now. That thing had like a 4,900 leave chip in it. It was over $4,000 on the leave, and I had that button emptied out and buried it as hard as I could hold it and could barely turn it green. And I went, you know what? If I put a glide and a brake in my car, I might be able to throw enough RPM at this thing that I could actually hit it shallow again.
Interesting.
So fast forward an entire year, I still haven't used the trans brake just yet, as I'm waiting for a particular solid state relay that is required. I don't have a separate two-step box. Like I said, the car's fuel injected, so I'm going to use the internal two-step that the Fast XFI 2.0 system has, but it has to go through this relay. And of course, it's been back ordered, so I'm still sitting waiting for that. But when that comes in, so hopefully next year, I can start using training brake two-step. And I've got one of the just-in-time buttons from Scott Lemon, the whole group at Collector Tethers and Drag Race Solutions. Those guys have some awesome tools to work with. So instead of digging into the computer to adjust the two-step RPM, I can mess with the shims, the springs. It's a really slick setup with a just-in-time button. So I'm looking forward to playing with that. Because even in 2019, there was only 2 races that I went to that were specifically foot brake only. I think we promote half of the foot brake races that are out there anymore.
Right.
But that are available for me to run, most of it's up north here, and they're no box races. So it's not going to hurt my feelings. Like, I've foot braked all my life. I've driven a couple of trans brake cars here and there, but it should be a lot more like hitting the practice tree, which when the car was broke, I did a whole lot of that with the Corona online practice street league.
Mm-hmm.
All we did over the winter was hit the practice street. So again,
That's all you can do in the wintertime, man. Whenever the snow's on the ground, what are you going to do? I didn't realize also Team 14's over here telling me that you do all the decals for the Black Panther Camaro over there for Kevinoid. I didn't realize that you do that. He said Stage Light Graphics.
Yep, Staging Light has been my business. Actually, before it was a business, staginglight.com, or just the Staging Light website, actually started when I was in college. And it had a guide to bracket racing, pretty rudimentary stuff back in the day, because this was mid-90s. Has a track directory on it, which is incredibly out of date now. But a lot of drag racing resources. Before there was a Google, there was Staging Light. There's a list of resources. There were links to other drag racing resources, which there wasn't many back in the early 90s. You know, it was kind of the early days of the internet. So it just kept up with that as its official name. It went from being just a drag racing resource to my graphic design business. So yeah, the Black Panther one was a really cool project. And I had done his son's junior dragster stuff back in the day too. But in the last, I've actually had to back off on doing just your standard name, class, number decal packages. I had literally gotten 5 months behind last year, and I wasn't doing anybody any good. I just had that much work because I would custom design number packages. So I was putting in way more time. You know, I wasn't template based. I'd have guys send me a picture of their car, and I'm matching the paint schemes and colors, particularly for this car, and modifying some of the fonts by hand on occasion. Really, it was just barely keeping the lights on, and I was having to pass up a lot of the event flyers that I'm doing now, which I really, really love. That's what I like doing. So that's my primary focus in the last little bit, is doing event flyers, big checks, run stickers. You know,
it
do
looks
a
like
little bit of detail work. You know, primarily customers that have been with me forever, or larger projects like the Black Panther thing. You know, that was a full set.
Yeah, I've got David Hearn in here, and he's basically saying he's been a long time customer of Staging Light, and he says he might be difficult at times, and then he laughs. But David said, "What's going on, David Hearn?" But some other things that kind of interested me real fast. What I picked up real fast about this thing called a master schedule of big money bracket racing. How'd you come up with that? Like that's seemingly something that needs to kind of fluctuate throughout most of the racing as a whole, if you ask me. But Loose Rocker Promotions master schedule. How'd you come up with that?
Well, really, it started out as a resource for me and Loose Rocker, because as a promoter, you don't need to be scheduling on top of other tracks where promoters big races, because that hurts everybody. You want to keep a clean schedule. And then I was also trying to keep track of the races that I was going to go to. So I would start out every year. Usually the first thing that gets announced to be the NHRA national event schedule, and everybody kind of spreads out from there. You know, because back when I started that, I was still running a lot of stock and super stock. So we'd have the NHRA schedule, then the IHRA schedules, you know, national and divisional. Then, well, PDRA's got a schedule out. Let's throw that on there, and NMCA and NMRA. Let's throw those guys on there. And then after that, it was basically anything, pretty much $5,000 and up. Well, if I saw something announced, okay, we'll just add it to the schedule. And this list got bigger and bigger. It was several hundred events. And I went, why just keep this? I've already done the work. Let's just make it available for everybody for free. And hopefully tracks and promoters will use this as a resource and stop scheduling on top of each other.
Man, you got that right too, because it's exactly like you said, it hurts car counts for everybody. And I kind of wonder if that kind of happened this year. It doesn't seem like everything is on top of each other per se, but there's a huge race, a mega race right in front of another mega race. And these mega races take all week and you only have so much vacation time as a normal working person. So you can't go to all of them back to back to back to back as a normal guy.
You can't, as a normal
Well,
guy.
I can't.
You've been watching this phenomenon for years, and like, it's going to crash. It's going to crash. Yeah. Well, next year it's going to crash. Well, last year, absolutely positively, there's no way that it could have worked last year with not just big buck, but mega buck week after week after week after week. And now there's probably something to it simply being the COVID year, because weird stuff happened last year that had no right to happen, but it did it anyway. There were tracks that never opened. Richmond Dragway will not ever open. They are permanently closed. Norwalk did not open last year. Now they are back in operation this year, but you went from tracks that didn't open to certain events. It wasn't every week, but certain events here and there had ridiculous car counts out of nowhere, no good explanation. And that Megabuck series, SFG, Flings, millions, everybody made it. And then come November, we do back-to-back races at Piedmont Dragway where we do 20 grand door car races for the box guys. Then we do 20 grand foot brake races, foot brake guys, always Thanksgiving weekend. And we had our two biggest events. It was absolutely insane. The door slammer race, we can officially say the world's largest door car big money bracket race in history. 537 entries on Saturday.
Right. And the best part about that is that Motor Mania probably loved it because there's never a lag, because if they're all door cars, no one ever gets off to go get a snack.
And
but
we actually had some drone footage taken. The track knew a guy that had a licensed drone, and he got some incredible footage looking over the pits. They're parked on both sides. Piedmont is not the biggest facility in the world, but apparently it's big enough for 539 entries. They were parked on both sides. It looked like Lazy Days RVs. Unbelievable. And the track did bring in extra help. They opened up the time slip booth on the far side so you could turn off in either direction. And it was an incredibly smooth race. A lot of the racers, this was one of the most well-run, smooth races ever. You know what we did? We called odd-numbered double entries. And cars kept coming for about 4 hours. And we're like, well, I guess if you hadn't run by now, you can come on. Like, guys, I don't know if guys could hear or just got tired of wait. Guys would come to the staging lanes a little bit at a time. Like the lanes were chock full, but rarely over full. Like at the rate that the lanes were pulling out, 4 guys were coming in, and it was just perfectly smooth. It was an unbelievable race.
Wow. And that's that kind of leads me to the next question that I wanted to ask you, because I wanted to bring that up of how many cars there were at an all door car racing even. So at that point, I mean, in theory, that takes out 50% of the cars, not to mention 2 dragsters always come in a trailer to any big money race, if not more. Whereas maybe only 1 door car fits in that trailer. But in your opinion, what makes Loose Rocker stand out from some of the other types of races? Because you put on some mega races yourself, but like explain the Loose Rocker payout structure to us, because I've been noticing, at least this year, I didn't really look too much into it last year, but I noticed this year it pays back further in the rounds rather than trying to you don't necessarily try to load it all up top and make one guy rich. You more so pay like round money and stuff like that. What's your thoughts on that process?
Well, we started into this, me and my partner, Anthony Walton, we are racers. We've raced our life. We totally get it. Even though both of us have had real successful careers, we understand that there's only one guy that wins. Everybody on the internet likes to say, well, I don't race for round money. Well, yeah, not if you're getting $5 or $10. And
Right.
maybe that's your attitude when you're on your way to the racetrack. I ain't never had anybody say, you know what, just keep it.
Right,
Round
exactly.
money is what you count when you're on your way home because you got your butt beat. But and this I've repeated on every podcast or interview that I've ever been on. I need you to make enough money. You know, maybe you don't break even for the weekend, but I need you to make enough money that you didn't spend a whole lot more than dinner and a movie with the missus for the weekend. I need you to make enough money so you've got the wherewithal to go racing somewhere else next week and the week after that and the week after that and a couple months down the road, come back and run with Loose Rocker again. The economy has that money has to keep flowing. If you have a mega buck race and you have to save up for 3 months to go to that race and you don't make money at that event, nobody's going to see you for the next 3 months. That's not good for the sport.
Right.
So-
and we're not talking about necessarily even making money as in coming out on top. We're talking about, okay, if you spent $3,000, yeah, if you spent $3,000, maybe you get 1,500 back, because George and I have had this conversation several times. It seems like a lot of these mega events there for a while, you could get to like 4th or 5th round every day and still get skunked on money. And but you're still putting all those runs on your car. You're still driving well. Maybe you're like me, and last weekend some guy puts 005 total on you 3rd round, and like you would have beat anyone else that round, but not that guy.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, bad luck. But like you said, if they can't afford to come back or they can't afford to go racing anywhere else, that hurts you in the long run.
Yeah, and from the very beginning, we started out our very first $5,000ers that we did a 5, a 20, and a 5 for Fall Foot Brake Frenzy 3, which was the first time that Anthony Walton had started the Fall Foot Brake Frenzy. It was typically like 555s at Coastal Plains Dragway. When we took over the Thanksgiving date and partnered up together, we did a 5, 20, and 5. What did round money pay at your typical $5,000 10, 12 years ago? Some of them wasn't even $50. A lot of times it was $25, $30 round money for a $5,000. And the very first one that we did, I think we paid $80 to win 3rd round, and then $40 a round after that. So you could very quickly get some money back. And as our car counts grew over the years, we started adding money to the purse. And where did we add it? We added it down low.
Right. And that's what everybody likes. We got a question in here for you from Eric White here. It says, what are your feelings on double entries, so to speak? And I think he's kind of taken that in the direction of, obviously, double entries. Any promoter is going to love double entries, but does it at a certain point slow down the program where it's not really worth it? Obviously, you're effectively, in theory, able to double your car count very easily, which is better because the promoter needs to make money too. Like the racers forget about that sometimes, that the promoter, you're putting your ass on the line big time, putting out this much money, and they forget that no one ever complains whenever the promoter gets hurt pretty bad, but they all complain when there's 600 cars and they have to sit around forever and win one more round now to get to the round money,
Yeah, it's basically a math problem, and there's 2 different ways of looking at it. And you say it's a way that you can double your car count. Well, I think realistically, and I haven't done the math on it in quite some time, but I think back in the day, our double entries would typically be around 28%. So it's a good bit. And I've always wanted to be able to do a race that was 1 car, 1 driver, 1 entry. Not even 1 guy in 2 different cars. I mean, 1, 1, 1. Old school.
That would be awesome.
Down and do the math, and you go, oh, wait a second. The entry fee would have to go way up, or the buyback would have to go way up, or the payout would have to go way down. And like I said, it's just a math problem at that point.
So it seems like
it's
seems
not
like
really,
it's
time.
almost like double entries are what allows these big money events to happen, because effectively the guy next to you that has double entries and say you don't have double entry money, he's making it possible for you to be able to run for this kind of money, even though you only get to do it once and he gets to do it twice.
You know, that's an excellent point. Now, also on the math problem end of things, if you double enter, you have twice as many shots at making money, right?
Right.
That's what we tell ourselves as racers.
Right.
What are you 100% guaranteed to do if you double enter?
Spend twice the money.
Spend
And potentially buy back twice as much.
Right.
You know what I did in 2019? I quit doubling, except for those 400 plus car count races. I double entered at the World Foot Brake Challenge, and I doubled at the No Box Bonanza. It was 425 cars. And it was not only the math problem, but also strategic. I'm not afraid of anybody. I respect everybody, but I know how to do math. If I beat Nick Hastings first round on both entries, he's still going to be in at 8 cars because he bought back, right?
Right.
Well, why am I going to beat my head against the wall? And I love Nick to death. I do not want to run him early.
No, I don't want to run him at any point.
Period.
And in 2019, see, when you double enter, let's go all the way back to 2015. I think I won a 10 grander and I run it up at a couple 10 granders. Man, this is a really good year. I'm just going to do that again next year. Yeah, it don't work that way. In 2016, I drove better. My car was better. Nobody cared. The runs that I had in 2016 every day of the week, just against somebody else, because run after run after run, I laid down laps. The other guy was always better, just like you talked about. Heck, a lot for you. And that's when I started thinking about it. See, when we double enter, what happens? It's not that double entering makes you better. It's the better racers that double. So
Right.
what they call doubles to the lanes, and you run an all-star race. And then you go back to the pits, you charge it up, you fuel it up, you cool it down, you bring it on back to the lanes with that same group of guys again.
That's a very good point. I was actually talking to a guy that was parked next to me about that the other day, because I would assume I don't know if you've gone to a regular weekly race at Galat, but they do it just like anyone else that has a large car count these days, where they call doubles separately. And that's exactly what he was saying. He's like, well, like he said, all the best racers double. So when they call doubles, there you are. Well, by the time everybody cools down, it takes a certain amount of time to cool down, and now you're coming right back. So you're better off to be in the middle. Dylan Champion actually told me one time, he said, let's let all those double boys just beat up on each other.
And that is exactly what I did in 2019. I put myself in the middle, and I still ran Nick Hastings 5 times that year. But I never ran before the quarters.
Gotcha.
We ran in 2 final rounds, and he did get me those 2, but I beat him the other 3. Our worst margin of victory in 5 races, 4th out. But like, you know, beat him. If you don't throw down a lap, you're done.
Yeah,
Well,
and the amazing thing is with Nick Hastings is that it doesn't matter what you throw down, he seemingly can throw it down better. Like if you leave and you're 5 on the tree and run dead 0, somehow he was 1 on the tree and ran dead on with a 3. You know, like it's crazy.
I did a bad job of parking in the lanes this year, wasn't paying attention, and I've run Nick twice this year, and both of them early rounds. 2nd round at Quaker, 3rd round at WFC, or no, the Labor Day race. And Labor Day race, he's 3 red, so I win the round. I'm 4 dead 4, so I'm throwing 8 total at him to the wood, so I know what I got. But if you go back and look at our Quaker City meeting, I was 10 up front and could have turned around and gone to the trailer. He was 3 take 4, and he was over there doing all kinds of work. So I just left out, and I wanted to do something, so I just kicked the pedal once. So I fed him 3 out of that 4. I went and told him, I said, Nick, just so you don't feel bad, you were actually taking 1, not 4. He's like, oh, okay, great, cool. So if he's 3 take 1, he would have got in on my 8 total if I'd have bothered to throw that at him. So I mean, it's crazy. So luck of the draw there. But again, just putting myself somewhere else in the lanes, 11 final rounds in 2019, and I spent half as much money. I made twice as much, spent half as much. Back to the beginning of the conversation. Now we've got money to reinvest in the car, so hopefully we stop breaking things and can just put gas and oil in it and go race.
Yeah,
And
that
so
makes,
that
makes a lot of sense. As we continue on with our questions here, and this kind of it may piggyback a little bit off of doubles thought. What track can hold doubles? You mentioned Piedmont was packed out; it was busting out at the seams. What goes into Loose Rocker's thought process of picking where to have their events?
Well, it's having a good partner. Piedmont Dragway may not be Norwalk. It ain't Bristol. It's not the biggest. It's not the fanciest place in the world, but they are great people that work their butts off. And that track feels like home, no matter where you're from. Like the facility just kind of hugs you. No matter where you're parked, you're not that far from the fence. Like you're not really strung out in the pits. They run their races like we run our races. We're all pulling in the same direction. And again, with a small staff and not fancy equipment, like they don't have jet dryer there. If you've watched any of our events, you've probably seen the tractor tires come out on top end. They will drag these ginormous tractor tires to dry the shutdown area, and they get smoke rolling off them tires. It works really well. Now, our August race, triple tens for foot brake, a Colonial Classic. The one day it rained until noon, and Leon told us up front, when it stops raining, I need 3 hours. It stopped raining. We're not talking 3 hours of dry time. They scraped. Scraped. After the rain stopped, we were running cars. The first pair went down at 3:18.
Wow. And I've never heard a bad thing about Piedmont ever. Everybody said their track hooks the best out of anywhere that they've been, no matter what the weather is. They say that the crew is awesome there. They said that the entire staff is awesome. Clean facility. I've literally never heard a bad thing from anybody about Piedmont. Even, how you have those buddies that are always complaining about something, no matter how great it is, they still can complain. Even those guys don't complain about Piedmont.
I mean, we've not only handled inclement weather in terms of rain and gotten back on the racetrack, we've had, our November races. A lot of times it's cold. Sometimes it's really cold. A few years ago, the one day was a high of like 41 degrees for about 3 minutes, and it dropped down to 34 degrees. Now, we did get lucky. There was no humidity. Ain't gonna lie, like that's what made that possible for Leon to make the track work. At 34 degrees, the two quickest cars on the property, Chris Plott in Tommy's Mustang and Kevin Pollard going 520s, 530s, ran each other in the quarters, straight as a string. That place worked. That was one of the most impressive things I'd ever seen. And Pollard ended up runner-up that year to Rodney Fincham. So
the fastest and one of the slowest right there, and both competitive in the final. That's actually a great side note.
That's great.
Oh, and Fincham was hilarious that year too, because he couldn't find the street. So he had been deep, he had been shallow, he'd been low gear, he'd been high gear, extra bump. He threw everything at it.
So speaking of what we were talking about earlier, where there were so many cars at the American Door Slammer Nationals, you said it's 537 or 47, one or the other. It seems like Loose Rocker as a whole shows a lot more love to the door cars, both foot brake and top bulb, than a lot of other series do. And it seems like a lot of these door cars are coming back out of the woodwork, and the dragsters don't really seem like – it seems like to me when you watch people announcing or you're looking at the cars, the dragsters are getting a little bit older than they usually were, whereas usually if it's 2021, you're buying a 2022 American car the next year, that winter, getting a brand new one, you know what I mean? And do you think that more people are heading back to the door cars for whatever reason? or do you think the dragsters are still going to be the big deal that they were? It just doesn't seem like you see them in every single winter circle like they used to be.
Some of that is the format on, some events are keeping them separate, either down to the ladder or down to the finals. So that's again, just a math problem. I don't see a huge number of dragster guys just selling the dragsters and buying door cars. I've seen a good number of the upper echelon guys have one of each. You see that with the Williams boys, Troy and Gary. They've got that extended cab S10. They've got the Chevy 2. So they've just expanded their options. I think our door car races are popular, one, just because they're cool, but
Right.
Secondly, it's special. And we found that out too. Like, we used to do events that had both top ET and foot brake, and a couple of them have been very, very big. But when you split the classes and foot brake has their own event and top ET has their own event, you get more of both. People like having their own event. And when you have multiple classes, you can do it to a point, but you really got to thread that needle, because it's very easy. Like, if you got just a bad forecast, it doesn't even have to be bad weather. You could have a bad forecast and all of a sudden you're down here and losing money or not making any money. You want to be here. But then a couple times we'd have beautiful weather and you have not here, you got here, and you've got curfews and you've got 550 cars one year. We literally sold 600 tech cars in Virginia the one year.
Wow.
What do you do with that? There's not, so now you've got people waiting a long time in between rounds, and it's not as fun. If you've got a single category event, last year was the first time that we split our March race. And we started out with a St. Patrick's foot brake triple tens, 336 cars on Saturday, our high day. I think we were 303, I think, on Friday. So over 300 out the gate. Still did a gambler's race Saturday night. Bing, bang, boom. I mean, they were humping through there. Typically we'll get a race started and I'll go back to work on the laptop for a little bit, do some paperwork, check some things out. And then I'll go out on the back deck of the tower and get a nice photo where you can see the staging lanes all full and the pits in the background. It's something I like to do. And I walked out of the tower and went, where's all the cars? There was like 8 or 10 cars in the left lane still. Like, my staging lanes are about empty. And I'm like, what just happened? We ran 100 cars in like 40 minutes or something silly.
Shoot.
They
Wow.
were humping. Like, it took a little while to get caught up on class calls, but once I figured out what both the racers and the track can handle, let's go. I love it. We not only, like, round money's a big deal for us, and a smooth, fast-paced race I love, because as a racer, I hate sitting around. So what am I going to make my customers wait around?
Perfect segue too, and into my next question. Basically, as a promoter, you have one side of the spectrum and the highs of being a promoter. But on the racer side, you have highs of being a racer. Which one do you prefer? Which one do you feel, all right, I'm a promoter on this side? Which one would you say is more rewarding to you? Not just monetarily, but, in the mind, and then, hey man, I did a really good job with that last Loose Rockers race, or I just won Muncie, so I feel great. What do you think?
Yeah, it's going to sound like a cop-out, but I'm going to say yes. Both. They're
Yes.
both rewarding in different ways, but it's just like eighth mile versus quarter mile, where you can learn things from quarter mile racing that you can apply to eighth mile racing. You can do things eighth mile that you can apply to quarter mile. And it's the same way, racer versus promoter. Because again, Anthony and I are racers. So that's part of the hat that we put on when we design races. And having been on the promoter end of things, when I go to a race, like going to Muncie for the first time this past weekend, I kind of have half a promoter hat on. When I come in the gate, I rolled up there and And the guy said, what class? And I said, I'm running modified. Okay, it's this many dollars. And I said, hey, it's my first time here. And he said, okay, go here, do this, do this, do this. This is how things work. Good luck today. Oh, awesome. You know, the pits were nice, smooth grass. It's like a golf course. Really cool. So I don't need pavement everywhere, particularly when it was 80 some degrees out. It was plenty hot. So I like putting my easy up. Because I'm still a pickup and open trailer guy, if anybody doesn't know. Like the trailer that I'm towing with is an open trailer that I won in a shootout in 1994, 5, 6, somewhere back in then. It doesn't owe me nothing, and I love it. You know, and the last time I bought a truck, and my 1500 Ram is paid off, by the way, and I bought a 1500 on purpose because it would keep me from buying an enclosed trailer.
I can tell you the mileage is a lot worse with an enclosed trailer for a fact.
But it's
nice to be in the shade.
Yeah, I've gotten 15 plus towing before.
Shoot.
So that makes it easier to afford to go racing.
It's true.
That's true. That's true. And it's nice to know that some promoters are still down to earth, normal guys. And then that makes people realize you can actually understand how hard it is for them to be able to save the money, to be able to go to a bigger money race. Eric White again is in here actually saying, what advice would you give someone who's never raced a big money race before versus running their regular bracket program?
It's the same race. Again, the Muncie race was $1,000 to win modified. It was their last points race of the year. I didn't approach any round like any other one. I mean, it was third round, I ran Jordan Wilhelm. What's the difference between running Jordan Wilhelm at Muncie or running Jordan Wilhelm at Bristol? It's the same guy.
Right. That's right. Well, I think doesn't Lucas Walker, doesn't he hang around Beacon, or who is that hangs around Beacon that's always deep all the time?
Yeah, absolutely.
Which, by the way, Lucas Walker, of course, was in Luke's wheelie contest. I'm pretty sure he got that. We all knew he would. Especially, did you see it in real life at Bristol? Did you see Lucas Walker's 250 foot?
And Vanderslice called that one. Adam Vanderslice goes, if Lucas is red, he's going to spray it.
Well, he did, every bit of it.
Man,
that was unbelievable. I was actually watching it, and I texted George immediately. I was like, you got to rewind this. If you're not watching it right now, you got to see this. It was, and he still ran like only one above, by the way. He was still, that's pretty close. Who knows what he was holding.
Tim Harrington race in Cecil County years ago. Lucas won the race, and he had literally hit the bumper in the quarters or the semis. Like the bumper scratched up on the car in winter circle. I'm gonna send it.
He just doesn't even care.
Well, anything. But again, at local level, okay, local to big money race. Probably the biggest difference is maybe time schedule. But again, at a local points race, I think they had juniors, we had modified, we had top, there was a quick 16, they had sportsmen. So, it was still, let's see, hour and a half between rounds. The early going of a big money race may be longer than that, particularly if you get some crazy car counts. But like the American Door Slammer Nationals, that 539, again, that was a COVID year thing. That the fall foot brake race the following week, we had 391 both days. That was a COVID deal. We've been 358 at the fall foot brake before, but typically both of those races will sit 270 to 290, which quite frankly, particularly that time of year, if it's going to be cold, 300 is about where you want to be.
Right. We got Dave Statham in here saying come to Texas, which kind of goes along with the next question I have, which is what loose rocker events are left in 2021 still?
Well, that would, and make sure I still got you because I lost my,
it's okay.
My battery.
Just turn it sideways again and you'll be good if you can. There you go.
We'll go and then backside.
Yep, right there. Maybe it'll flip. Flip on. We got ups.
My screen's actually black, but as long as you guys can Can see and hear? That's fine, I guess.
Yeah, I can see you. We got you
Yeah,
turned upside down, but we can still hear you. Keep going.
How about that?
That'll work. That's just the other way.
Yeah.
It's fine. It's fine.
Is it still upside down?
Yeah, it's upside down.
No, it's just sideways.
How can it be upside down both ways?
Now it's good. That's good.
Well,
Right
that's
there.
Whatever.
No, anyways, what loose rocker races are left in 2021 for us?
As we've been talking about, the November races, the American Door Slammer Nationals, that's the week before Thanksgiving. This year, we're backing things up because it was such a massive car count last year. Thursday is going to be a 10K warm-up race. And then we're going to do a 20K Friday, 20K Saturday. So that will leave us with Sunday in case we need to spill over or if there's a weather issue. So guys can come into the weekend knowing, hey, we've got 4 days to run 3 races. We don't have to sit and worry about the weather. Because very often in November, you can lose a day. And when we were set up as a 10, 20, and 10, every single time those races come around, oh, one day looks bad. What are you going to do? What are you going to do? Well, with fall foot brake, it's just going to be 20K Friday, 20K Saturday. You know, if one of those days doesn't work, you know that one of those is going to move to Sunday. So you've got some certainty coming into the weekend. And again, car counts have been so big the last several years. You know, like the only drawback with Piedmont is Sunday. They do have a curfew due to the local churches. We can't fire engines until noon, so it does make it a little harder on travelers. Now, we do typically get done 8:30, 9 o'clock on Sundays, which really isn't too bad. And you got to figure if you lose in the early rounds, you're getting home at a decent time. And if you're in the late rounds, you made it worth your while to stay there. Like,
Right.
Exactly.
Stay there
That's the
until
way
the
I
next
always
day.
say it.
All I care. I'll be there all day long.
again, with those 2 particular events, we are going to go to primarily Friday, Saturday, and use Sunday as a backup. So again, you've got some certainty. Don't have to worry about the weather coming into it. We got 3 days to do 2 races, or with the door car race. You know, again, Thursday's a warm-up race. That's a separate deal. You can make it, great. I mean, $120 for 10 grand, and it's our normal full payout all the way back through, you know, $100 round money. And people need to look at more than just the winner, and they're guys that will look at the round money. You can look at everything there, because our 10 granders, we pay 3 grand to runner up. There's a lot of 10 granders out there that'll pay 2 grand to runner up. So that when it comes time to split, sometimes that can get carved up a little bit. That $1,000 goes a long way. Let's put it that way.
True.
One thing I didn't even realize until we actually did it. Last year we did Little Bigfoot. You know, we had lost our April date due to COVID and had rescheduled to middle of August, which wasn't the greatest date, but we really wanted to have the race. But we knew we couldn't do 40 granders 2 weeks before 100K at Bristol. So we weren't going to ask guys to spend that kind of money. So that was going to be our first triple tens. We ended up losing Friday to rain. So we split up the purse between the 2 remaining days and made it 2 15 granders. The difference between a 10 and a 15 when it comes time for the split is insane. And I'm like, there's a lot of money to go around here. This is great. And this year, we started playing around with some 12.5s. Single day entries on 10 granders are typically what? $150.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I figured out for $160, you can pay 12.5 instead of 10K.
I like that.
Everybody's doing that. Everybody's giving you $10 for that.
Yeah. And again, when it came time for the split, that 12.5, that extra $2,500, that really went a long way, and it ends up making the winner go home with a good chunk of change. You know, I really hate seeing the winner go home with half of the advertised winner purse. if it gets hacked up that bad. Now, granted, we did not fuss at the Labor Day 250K.
Mm-hmm.
Gotcha.
I was lucky enough to be involved in the split on that one where we cut it up at 13 and we hacked that bad boy up really good. And I said, everybody's getting paid. Let's go race.
Yeah, Dylan Champion was actually telling me earlier he wasn't going to, you didn't hurt his feelings by going so deep into Calcutta. He had you into Calcutta, I guess.
So he lost, so it was about $5,000 sitting out there, didn't he?
I can't remember what he said.
Never bet on me. Get to death.
Hey, he was texting me the whole time, and I was like, he's still in, he's still in. And I think he was getting antsy because there weren't a lot of rounds left.
So,
yeah, and I got started late this year, so that was week number 5 out for me with a new combination. And it was the first, and I hadn't been like 5 weeks in a row either. I went like 2 weeks in a row, and then I was off for a couple weeks. Then I went to a race, and then, man, I got a lot of work to catch up on this weekend. And so I hadn't been racing regularly. So I've actually made more laps at Bristol than I have anywhere else this year. Wow. And Labor Day was the first time that I actually got comfortable in the car. Like, instead of making a really good lap and going, did I do that on purpose? So I started to feel like my own self a little bit again. And I can put that trust in the car because it's been an incredibly good combination. And like even the World Foot Brake Challenge, I was changing the tune-up every run for like 3 days. You know, small things, but I was constantly tinkering with stuff. I've finally gotten to the point where I'm pretty well homed in on the thing, and most of the time I'm not tinkering between rounds and can just go out, hit the tree. Car's going to go dead on. So, I mean, like, I could stare at the scoreboard, but that would be rude. So you got to at least give Man, a lot of good work over there. Man, he did a really good job. Oh, wind lights on. Cool.
Hey, it's nice because then maybe you can run Nick Hastings and look over and be like, so what exactly is he doing? And just kind of watch. Not have to, don't even worry about it.
Dude, years ago, I ran Nick at I-64 in Kentucky, and I'm red. He did not see his wind light come on, and I watched him take triple O on me for practice. Of course, I'd done that. There was an I-95 series race at Richmond, and I think that was 2016. I think it's one of the first races out with the 408 combination, and I ran Devin Dudley first round, and that's back when he was carrying a boatload, and he's on me like stink at the 330. Like, I've mowed the tree. I'm feeling really good. I'm dialed on. I'm going dead on. I'm going dead on, and I don't even have my
roll window down.
And he runs like a fender out in front of me, and I'm just watching him drag, park. I'm like, wow, that looks really, I think he took nothing. He took triple O something on me, and he's under 1,000 or 2, and I think I was like 9 total or something.
Wow.
Do you think those guys are just do you think those guys are just the epitome of seat time in the same car? Because a lot of us make the mistake of, I'm terrible about this. I've had 4 different cars just this year. Of course, I still got my Nova. It just doesn't work properly most of the time. But so, you know, we were texting back and forth last night or the night before about the issues I've been having with that. I finally got it figured out, and lo and behold, it's the end of the year. So that's how that goes. And I'm taking that motor out to put in the Firebird. So, but do you think that just a lot of us make the mistake of, oh, I want to have something different. Oh, I want a bigger motor. Oh, I need a smaller motor. Oh, I'm changing this. I'm changing that. You know, do you think those guys just run the same thing over and over and over again? And they just, like Nick Hastings knows what a 610 feels like because he's always dialed 610 all the time.
Yeah, there's nobody that's going to make more laps than him. Yeah, there's absolutely no substitute for seat time. Now, on the flip side, I kind of got fussed at by folks on Facebook in 2019 because I started out the year shallow staging, and the first race of the year that didn't rain out, I won at Killcare, and a week or 2 later, I won the IHRA Sportsman Spectacular at Pittsburgh with shallow staging, and at Killcare, I think I was between 21 and 25. Every single hit but one where I met it coming on to be 00, and I needed it because the guy was just like team pack beside me. I could get away with it. At Pittsburgh, I was shallow. I'm taking a couple extra bumps, and I'm 17, 19, 18. That's everything I had. And I went from a 456 gear to a 513. And well, why are you changing stuff? Well, I think I can make it better. Well, but you're winning. I think I can make it better. I didn't find the reaction time that I was looking for with the gear change. So the next week, I started deep staging. Everybody, why are you changing stuff? I think I can make it better. And I tell you what, when you get a car to actually fit you and your spot down to the thousandth, like you can do with a practice tree, or practice tree, you can set the rollout to 1,000th.
Right.
When you can finally get a car that you can adjust to you, oh my God, you can tighten up that window. Like I had some crazy days on the tree. And again, you can get really, really comfortable. So I guess it can go both ways, where it's not necessarily a bad thing to make changes if it's a positive change and it's going to make sense. Like even at Muncie, I rolled in there. Again, never been there. I'm deep. Empire was fairly loose for deep staging for me, I felt. I just left that tune up in there. I'm 33 off the trailer. Like, wow. What I'm doing deep staging and with the fuel injected combination, kind of like you could do with a grid, I'm setting up a timing map. I'm killing ignition timing just from 2,000 to 5,000 RPM, which is basically the beams. You know, as soon as it's converter flash, converter goes to 6. So as soon as the car sees over 5,000 RPM, that's about the same time that the tires clear in the beams. It spikes the timing back up to 38, and it stays there the rest of the run. Because the RPM's never going to fall below $5,000 again.
Right.
And I discovered, at least for my 3-speed combination, 1 degree of timing was 5,000, like clockwork. And you ain't sitting there with a timing light and turning a distributor, you're punching on a keyboard. So I stumbled on that idea by accident, and it's been phenomenal. I'm not as positive in how the Power Glide is reacting to it. I've still been trying to use that 1 degrees 5,000, but so I'm leaving at 34 degrees of timing the first hit at Muncie. I'm 33. I might have missed a little bit, but so I want to set up teen off of that. Figure maybe I'll hit a little harder. I had 4 degrees of timing. I'm 38. I went, uh-oh. Oh, that's the first time I had 2 time runs in forever because I'm used to going to big money races. So that was a nice thing about going to a local points race. Got 2 time runs. Cool. Right. So first round, well, I can't go any higher than 38 degrees. So I go from 2550 for a launch RPM. I jack it up to 2,900. I'm like, I've seen Luke Bagacki and Chip Johnson and all these guys for 100 RPM is worth what? 100th, right? Yeah. I've heard that for years. I have never once agreed with it.
I figured it was 200 was when I was foot braking the other day. I always thought it was 200 for me.
I haven't found hardly anything in RPM. I think you would probably see more with a tight converter and starting out like Chip Johnson was usually like an 1,800 RPM kind of guy. I think down low you may see more of a change, but I go from 25 to 29. I'm 32 first round. I'm like, it's gonna be a short day. So then the rest of the night, I was up another 200 at 3,100, which is basically my shallow setup for used to be, or I thought so, but I'm using my shallow setup deep at this place. And I'm 5, I'm 18. The sun goes down, 24, 26. Like I was
and foot braking these days, that's not good anymore. That's what's crazy.
It's crazy.
Yeah. No, exactly. Like if I had my way, I'd have been pulling another 10 to 15 out of that thing. But I was out of it.
I think at least 75% of the foot breakers out there nowadays that are running any type of big money races or even running at any kind of major tracks, I think 75% of them, if they said, okay, it's all run. We're all in the same class. We're putting all the money from both purses in. I think that a foot breaker is going to win just as much as a top bulb guy is going to win anymore, because I think the foot breakers are that good. I really do. And I don't even foot brake. I have a lot. It's funny because actually the majority of my friends do foot brake, which is why I kind of have insider information, I guess. But if you go watch the foot breakers, it's amazing. Dylan Champion and I, we both go back and forth, and he always says, man, I just feel like the foot breakers don't get enough love because everybody looks down on the foot brake category. And I think that loose rocker is helping bring those guys to the forefront where they should have been a long time ago. I just think that the foot breaker guys are a lot better than they get credit for these days.
At least the upper echelon of foot breakers are throwing down packages every bit as good as your average or a little bit higher level super pro guy. I mean, Nick Hastings was runner up at our Bigfoot 75K foot braking in a foot brake race. He won the Super Pro 75K challenge foot braking in a box race. That always interests me about Nick, and I can't remember if I've asked him about it before. I did overhear him say this year that he made a conscious decision. He's not going to change up what he's doing. He is foot braking everywhere he goes. And this goes back to your comment about seat time. Nick is doing that. Doesn't matter if he's in a no box race, a foot brake race, or a box race, he's going to be off the foot. And it always kind of surprised me that he didn't no box it. Like, I've played with Nick at a lot of these in-person off-season practice tree races, and we'll typically do a bottom bulb shootout first, and then we'll do the main event, which is top bulb. And Nick would usually start running top bulb, and about third round, he'd be like, I'm just not feeling it. And he'll go back to the bottom, and he's better. like I'm strictly average off the top. Like I'm okay. My average and my window are better off the bottom. That's just how I'm wired. Like, it's not a ton, but it's enough to put a pencil to it. It's a few thousandths here, a few thousandths here. Now, if we had a 5 amber tree and a bump down, I'd be solid. Like, I know I'm missing off the bottom. I just can't do anything about it.
Exactly, man. And that's the thing. If I could hit the bottom off the foot as well as Nick could, then there is no sense, because I just paid $439 for a Pro Cube. So I would have already been ahead. I could have just went and entered a loose rocker race and been done with it. And I could have had that entry fee money, but instead I decided to top bulb because I can't do what Nick Hastings can do. But Michael, man, we can't thank you enough for getting on here again, especially dealing with our technical issues last week, and then getting back on, making yourself available to talk to the Golden Bracket Racing YouTube channel community. But we want to give you a little bit of time to thank whoever you got to thank before you get off here. Any type of sponsors you got, shout out your upcoming races again, whatever you want to do.
I really appreciate the opportunity, guys, and the technical difficulties. That was no problem. Always here for you. Let's see. Again, coming up, I'll give you some actual dates maybe. In November, we have back-to-back weekends. The Racer Tees American Door Slammer Nationals presented by Bug McCarty's McCarty Auto Parts. It's going to be a 10, 20, and 10. That's Thursday, 10K. 20K Friday and Saturday, both. That will be November 18th through the 20th. And then Thanksgiving weekend, as always, it's the Thanksgiving tradition, the ATI Performance Products Fall Foot Brake Frenzy. I think we're on year number 13 now. 20K, back-to-back. It's Friday, Saturday, November 26th through the 27th. And next year's schedule will be hashing out here very shortly, but you can look forward to both foot brake and top bulb races in March, separate events, very much like we did this year. We'll be back with the Bigfoot race in April. We have our 75K Super Pro Challenge in May, middle of May at Piedmont. Went off really well, even considering the Colonial Pipeline was shut down and guys weren't sure if they could get there or get home. But we still have a solid event. So I think it's going to be a great one, May 13th through the 15th. Changing things up. The big change for next year is we're going to be back at Piedmont for another Top ET Super Pro race, September 9, 10, 11. So give that a go. Maybe get into some not 100-degree weather.
Yes.
And we'll have details coming out on that. I'm still kind of juggling numbers to see what we'll do, but that one I think will probably go on the low buck end of things, somewhere between that 10s or 12.5s, 15s, in that range. Give our Super Pro guys that same kind of opportunity that the foot brake guys got at the beginning of March with the 10s for $300 is just a smoking hot deal. Like to hit that middle ground. Like, we did play around with mega buck races a little bit this year, and again, the 75K will make a return for Super Pro guys in May. But I don't even know if 5s and 10s and stuff are even considered big bucks races anymore. But $10,000
They are
is a lot.
for me.
Yeah, me too.
They are for me.
Yeah, buddy.
As a racer, I love the idea of 10s for $300. And
Yes.
again, our breaker showed up 336 last year, so we're gonna we were gonna do that for Top ET Super Pro this year, but the Summit St. Patrick's 300 got rescheduled, so we had to do some shuffling. So we'll have
I was disappointed.
Race
I was coming to that. I was disappointed.
I know. So we promised everybody we'll have one for you next year. And then, of course, we'll be back-to-back weekends in November again, American Door Slammer Nationals, Fall Foot Brake Frenzy. We'll see how things go this year with the Door Slammer Thursday, Friday, Saturday deal. See if we stick with that. So that one may juggle a day. So we'll see what the racers like, and we'll go from there. And just to finish things up, to give a shout out to some of the folks helping out our personal racing for years and years and years. Again, since you're down in North Carolina now, look up Sloan Racing Engines. They've done my stock, super stock, bracket motors, does a little bit of everything. Tim Sloan's a great guy there. Trick Flow Specialties, Weisco Automotive, Mosier Engineering, and that was very special this weekend because Muncie's actually kind of the home track for Mosier Engineering, and Rocky Van Note that works there was there. Got to be in my winner's circle picture. So it's great to have not only a sponsor, but a fellow racer hanging out there. Scott Lemon at Drag Race Solutions, Mickey Thompson, of course. I think I mentioned the Pro Bracket Radials, 398 runs, in case you missed that earlier, folks. Still on the car. I will be running those tires over 400 runs at the No Box Bonanza at Norwalk this weekend. Gives race cars that phenomenal job with all the fabrication work on the car. Biondo Racing Products. Guys, when November comes around, look up on Facebook. It's a group, Corona Lockdown Online Practice Tree Challenge. Stay sharp over the winter. Have a good time. We bust on each other, but we're a really tight-knit, dysfunctional family. So come on in. You have a good time. Hot Shot Secret. Some of the best oils and lubricants you will ever find. Summit Racing Equipment. I have actually sponsored them the last couple of years. And Autometer. Big shout out to Gary Don Free at Drag Champ. I know he helps you guys out with the Drag Champ Minute. Gary Don has made sure that if a drag racer wins a race in a forest and nobody's there, we still hear about it.
Yeah.
And that's really super important for sportsman racing. So thank you, Gary Don. And of course, find Loose Rocker on Facebook, and we'll see you guys at the racetrack.
Sounds good. Hey guys, if you need help finding Loose Rocker, his Facebook page is tagged into the video and everything. If you need any further help than that, it's just a click now. But if you need any more help than that, let me know. I'll get you there, I promise. But certainly thanks a lot for giving us a little bit of time. And hey, we'll have you on again if you're up for it.
Absolutely. Oh, I think I did miss Abruzzi Racing Transmissions and Converters. So it's not brand new to Power Glide life.
Got it. Well, hang in there,
we've had a Power Glide for 7 race weekends and picked up a win. So thank you, Marco.
Hang in there, guys. We'll be right back to you. Just a couple of clerical things to clear up. We'll be right back. Thank you.
What's
Welcome
up,
back.
guys? We're back now. I'm taking over, George.
You
So
got it.
I hope everybody enjoyed that show with Michael Beard, man. What a great guy. He can talk just as much as we can, obviously. But we like that. We like that, George, because whenever we're interviewing people, we like them to actually get their thoughts out. That's why we brought them on the show.
Can't disagree with that at all. It's probably one of the first shows that have gone over an hour for us, and I'm totally fine with it. Besides, in 8 minutes, I got to go pick up my kids. So there you have it for the reason why we schedule things the way we do here at Going Bracket Racing. Certainly follow the YouTube channel. Hit the subscribe button. It does a great service for us. We can't thank you guys enough because without you, hey, we wouldn't be doing this anymore. I'm pretty sure of that. But real quick, we're going to shout out some upcoming races. There's some good things coming. I know you guys have seen us kind of show you the Quaker City Nationals. We're going to show that flyer again. And Casey, man, this race, I'm just a big name throwing the race and helping out. And Scotty Richardson, the prices are set, I mean, pretty phenomenal.
The prices are right.
That's correct.
The prices are right.
The price is right for this type of a race. 24th, 25th, and the 26th. The Queen City Nationals over at Edgewater. You guys anywhere in that area, make sure you guys, if you're going to be doing some racing, you give this one a good look. You're going to have a good time there. There's some pretty neat things going on down below the flyer here. I know there's a teams race or something going on.
Exactly. And that's what I was just getting ready to say. Don't forget that triple threat race, man. Even if you don't do any good in these big races, you're still going to have fun because you have 3 people per team, $500 entry for top, $300 entry for pro, and they even have it for juniors for $100, and they're paying $5 grand, $3 grand, and $1,000. Best 2 out of 3 wins. You pick your own team, whoever you want. If you show up by yourself and you see the guy across from you is in the finals every single day, go over there and pick him. Maybe say, hey, man, I'll even throw your entry fee money in. You get your money back real easy.
Right. And so certainly, guys, if you're in the area, I'm pretty sure the weather's going to be nice. Hopefully everything runs smoothly at that race. I wish I wasn't in Texas. I'd be there myself, put it that way. At the same time, everyone knows Muncie. Michael Beard just won at Muncie, for crying out loud.
Michael Beard
guys?
just won there.
So here's another race. 256 max entries, but I think they're going to take entries at the gate as well, as I believe there's right around 60 entries left for this race. Door cars, you guys showed up and showed out. Go figure over there in that area in Indy. That area is just door car heavy, But I heard through the grapevine you can still get an entry, even if it's a dragster entry. You can enter this race as a door car still with 60 entries remaining. So shout out to SFG for everything you guys are doing over there for the budget racers. This is another good budget race, going in for 20 grand. And look at that round money. That's all I got to say. So make sure you guys giving yourself some space there. That's October 1st through the 3rd. Going to be an excellent event. And again, I'm in Texas, going to be missing out. I think my old man, my cousin, my uncle, and probably my whole family will probably show up at that SFG event. So, Casey, man, what you got in closing? This was a heck of a show, if I might say so myself. And what you got in closing? Man?
Awesome show. I just got a couple honorable mentions here, man. So Jerry Brewer showing out for the Galat team down there at Darlington, got one of the 100Ks. Dylan Green took big time. Kenny Smith Nova down to the finals at Galat and foot brake this weekend. So we want to say congratulations to Dylan for that. And we want to say congratulations to Brandon Lane. They haven't finalized all the points yet, but we're all pretty sure that Brandon Lane took home the top ET championship at Galat for this year, had an outstanding year. So just want to say congrats to those guys before we get off here. And other than that, what do you say, George?
I'd say congrats to you for getting a 5-pack handed to you. That probably doesn't deserve much congrats, but
no.
Hey, try to pull in the station lanes a little bit different. Were you out? You going back out this week, or you done for the couple of days?
I think I'm working on the Firebird for a while, trying to save some money. We're just normal guys over here, so if you ain't winning any money and you're spending money, then you can't afford to go racing too. So I'm going to just do some wiring on the Firebird. I got that whole thing. I got a lot of parts in. So I think I'm going to work on that a while, and I'll probably be out. I might go foot brake racing sometime in the middle of October if I get an itch, but I'll run the Halloween race. And then probably at that point, I'll take the motor out of the Nova, and we'll be finishing that for next year.
Sounds good. And myself, I'll have Mo out at racing for Team I-30, team number 2. We'll be at Extreme Raceway Park probably Friday morning and see if we can't turn on some wind lights in that old Going Bracket Racing S10. So thanks, guys, for tuning in. And as always, we'll see you guys next Tuesday.